Welcome to Turkish Spot. If you're a Turkish drama fan and looking for something new to watch, get ready, because today I'm bringing you 15 stories that could become your next obsession. There are impossible romances, love born out of hatred, family secrets, revenge, class differences, and characters who will have to fight for everything they want. And the best part is that some of these series are pretty little known, but they have stories that genuinely deserve a chance. So stick around until the end, because among these 15 could be the series you've been searching for without finding it yet. Number 15. Heartbeat. The heart doesn't warn you. It just starts beating faster when the wrong person shows up at the least convenient moment. Kalpatushi is the Turkish medical romance that uses the hospital as the setting where two completely different worlds brush against each other and can't ignore it. The heroine is a doctor with a career built on sacrifice and discipline, someone who learned early on that feelings and work can't occupy the same space without one destroying the other. Her starting situation looks stable. She has her place, her routine, and the certainty that she knows exactly what kind of life she wants to build. The conflict arrives when a new character enters her professional world with the energy of someone who doesn't exactly respect the same boundaries she built. The twist that complicates everything is the inevitable proximity, working together, sharing decisions with real consequences, and discovering that the person who should just be a colleague became something no hospital protocol ever fully accounted for. The romance that emerges has the tension of something neither of them can simply cast aside. Available on digital platforms. 1 complete season. Can someone who learned to protect herself from everything learn to let in exactly what she always avoided? Next up, number 14. Number 14. I kept you in my heart. There are people you keep, not in your memory, in your heart, in the place where the important things survive whatever time does to them. Seni Kalbime Sakladim is the Turkish romance that takes that image and turns it into the engine of a story where keeping someone in your heart has real consequences. Neither of them anticipated when the keeping first happened. The protagonist carries with him someone the world told him he had to let go of. His starting situation is that of a man who seems to have moved on but who never actually closed the door on what was left unresolved. The conflict arrives when the person he kept shows up again, with her own history, her own reasons for having disappeared, and the ability to complicate everything he built during the time she was gone. The twist that complicates everything is the past. The real reasons behind the separation, which the series reveals gradually with the patience of Turkish drama that knows a well-built reveal, is worth more than shock value. The romance trying to rebuild itself has the fragility of something that already broke once, and both of them know exactly what it cost the first time. Available on Turkish digital platforms. Can someone who was kept in another's heart survive the reunion without breaking what's left of them both? Next up. Number 13. Number 13. Musafir Cafe. A cafe, its visitors, and everything a shared space can reveal about the people who inhabit it, even when they're complete strangers to each other. Musafir Cafe is the Turkish series that uses the cafe as the most democratic possible setting, the place where worlds that normally never touch have to share space for as long as a cup of tea lasts. The protagonist is the owner. With his own history, the cafe knows better than anyone else in his life, because the cafe was there for all of it. His starting situation is that of someone who built his identity entirely around that space and can't fully imagine his life without it. The conflict arrives when something threatens the cafe's survival in ways the protagonist can't solve with the tools he has available. The twist that complicates everything is the person who shows up at that moment of threat, with her own reasons for being there, with the ability to help in ways neither of them anticipated when they first met in that shared space. The romance that emerges has the specific warmth of something born over cups of tea and conversations that started without either of them knowing they'd end up mattering. Available on regional streaming platforms. Can a cafe be the place where two people find exactly what they'd been looking for without knowing they were looking for it? Next up, number 12. Number 12. The Palace Cook. Flavor as language, as the oldest way of saying what words can't say directly. The Palace Cook takes that concept and brings it into period drama with the visual and narrative ambition of a show that took seriously the world it promised to show. The protagonist is a cook with extraordinary talent, someone whose hands can create something no palace protocol ever anticipated when they hired him. His starting situation is that of an artisan in the most demanding environment possible, where every dish is judged and where the margin for error is exactly zero. The conflict arrives when what he creates starts to matter beyond the kitchen. When the flavor he produces has political consequences, no cook should have to handle alongside the pots and pans. The twist that complicates everything is the unexpected connection with someone from inside the palace, whose world shouldn't touch the world of someone there to serve. The romance that emerges has the tension of something protocol makes impossible, but mutual presence makes inevitable. Available on streaming platforms. Can someone who exists to serve others find, in that service, room to be served by something he never asked for but needed? Next up, number 11. Number 11. You like it. Love as a verb. As an action, one person carries out toward another without the other, always fully knowing what that love costs, the one giving it. Seversin is the Turkish drama that takes that asymmetry as the central territory of its exploration. Someone loves, and the person being loved either doesn't know it yet or can't fully let herself know it. The protagonist has the specificity of someone built from his reasons before his situations, with a history that explains exactly why he loves the way he loves, without that explanation, simplifying what he feels. His starting situation is the apparent simplicity of someone who's clear about what he wants, even though the world around him doesn't share that same clarity about whether it can give it to him. The conflict arrives when what he feels collides with what his surroundings will allow to exist. The twist that complicates everything is the revelation that the love he was giving silently has consequences the silence can no longer contain. The romance that emerges once that silence breaks has the intensity of something that had been building for a long time, with no visible way out. Available on digital platforms. Number 10. Possible love. Love as possibility, not as certainty, not as the inevitable destiny conventional romantic drama promises from episode 1 with total conviction, but as something that could exist, that has the conditions to exist, and that still requires someone to make the decision to believe in that possibility before circumstances make it impossible to sustain. Muhtemel Aşk is the Turkish series that takes that uncertainty as its central territory. The leads are people the world placed in exactly the right spot for something to happen between them, but with no guarantee that it actually will. Their starting situation is two people who each have their own reasons not to bet on what the other could represent in their lives. The conflict arrives when those reasons meet something stronger than themselves. The twist that complicates everything is circumstance, the unexpected moment that turns what was possible into something that can no longer be ignored without real cost to both of them. The romance that emerges has the tenderness of something neither actively sought but also can't simply reject without losing something. Available on Turkish digital platforms. Can someone bet on a love that's only possible when certainty would have been so much more comfortable for both of them? Number 9. Royals. Power has its own rules of love, its own ways of deciding who can love whom, and under what conditions that love is acceptable to the system surrounding it. Royals is the Turkish drama that takes the world of the aristocracy and uses it as the stage where love and protocol collide in ways neither can resolve without the other paying the price. The protagonist lives inside that system with the comfort of someone who never questioned that the rules were exactly what they are. because he never had enough reason to question them. His starting situation is privilege that goes unexamined because everything around him constantly confirms it. The conflict arrives when someone shows up who doesn't share that system, who comes from outside, with her own rules that don't match the protocols. The twist that complicates everything is the real attraction, which doesn't respect hierarchy or protocol or the reasons the system decided that attraction shouldn't exist. The romance that emerges has the tension of something that has to choose between the love and the world that produce it. Available on streaming platforms. Number 8. The red scarf. A scarf, red, and everything that specific object can mean within a culture where objects carry histories, the people who wear them can't always tell directly. Alias Malum is the Turkish drama that uses the scarf as the most honest symbol of a story where identity and love and tradition coexist in the same space, none able to fully ignore the other two. The heroine wears that scarf with everything it implies in the world that shaped her, with the specific weight of someone who knows what she visibly wears, says things about her that the people around her will interpret in ways that don't always match what she means to say. Her starting situation is anchored in a world of tradition the outside world doesn't always understand. The conflict arrives when that outside world enters her life in ways she couldn't fully anticipate. The twist that complicates everything is the love born exactly at the point of friction between those two worlds. The romance has the delicacy and intensity of something built on real differences. Available on Turkish digital platforms across multiple seasons. Can someone who carries a symbol of her world find someone who understands what that symbol means without needing it explained? Next up, number 7. Number 7. Love out of spite. A collision, literal, the most inconvenient possible way to meet someone, and the reveal that this person is exactly the CEO of the company you just started working at, with every hope pinned on that fresh start. Inadina Ashk takes that classic premise and executes it with the instant chemistry the genre needs when it's betting on the accidental meeting as the starting point for something neither of them planned. The protagonist holds the position of power, but also has his own complications, which the series reveals patiently. His starting situation is that of a man who has everything externally in order and internally has exactly the opposite of that order. The conflict arrives when the person from that first collision enters his professional world in ways the distance protocol demands can't fully be maintained. The twist that complicates everything is the real feeling, which doesn't consult hierarchy before showing up. The romance that emerges has the energy of two people resisting each other in ways that prove exactly the opposite of what they're trying to prove. What weighs it down is the rushed ending caused by the cancellation, which never gave the story the closure it deserved. Available on digital platforms. Can something that started with a collision end up being exactly the meeting both of them needed without ever having looked for it? Next up, number 6. Number 6. Ego. Ego as the hardest obstacle to overcome. Not the external one the world builds, but the internal one a person built to protect themselves from something that, at some point, hurt too much to let in without that shield. Ego is the Turkish drama that takes that barrier as the central conflict of a story, where what separates the leads isn't circumstance, but something neither can simply decide to leave behind, because it's part of who they are. The protagonist has the ego of the title in specific, understandable ways, with a history that explains exactly where that barrier comes from, without that explanation fully justifying or fully condemning it. His starting situation is that of someone who functions perfectly within the rules, his own ego set up to protect itself. The conflict arrives when someone enters who doesn't respect those rules. Not out of aggression, but, at first, out of not knowing them, and later, by choice. The twist that complicates everything is the moment the ego turns out to be exactly what's blocking the very thing he needs most. The romance that emerges has the tension of something that has to survive the person who's producing it. Available on Turkish digital platforms. Can someone let go of the ego that protected him for so long when what's on the other side is worth exactly that? Number 5. That is my life. Someone took what was yours. Not an object, a life, an identity, the place in the world that belonged to you, now inhabited by someone else, as if it had always been theirs. O Hayat Benim is the Turkish drama that takes that premise and builds it with the tension of stolen identity drama, a subgenre the industry handles with particular skill when it finds characters specific enough. The heroine discovers that what she thought she knew about her own history has a different version. Someone decided she should never learn. Her starting situation is that of someone who built a life on a foundation she doesn't know is incomplete. The conflict arrives when that foundation starts showing cracks that can no longer be ignored without real cost. The twist that complicates everything is the discovery that the person who took her place has her own reasons and her own wounds, which the show examines honestly, without simplifying the conflict into a single direction. The romance within that story has the complexity of something born, while the heroine was in the middle of discovering who she really is. Available on digital platforms across multiple seasons. Can someone reclaim the life stolen from her when the person living it built something real on top of what she took without permission? Number 4. The law of nature. Nature has its own laws, and it doesn't negotiate them with anyone. Doğanın Kanunu takes that premise into the territory of human drama with the honesty of a show that knows the laws of the natural world are no more brutal than the ones that govern the world of people, once the veneer of civilization completely disappears. The protagonist lives in the space where those two sets of rules touch in ways the urban world never produces the same way. Shaped by a physical environment no urban setting could have produced. His starting situation is that of someone who understands the laws of the place he lives in, with a clarity newcomers never fully have. The conflict arrives when what the environment demands and what the heart asks for point in incompatible directions. The twist that complicates everything is exactly the person who arrives from outside, with her own rules, with her own inability to fully understand the code that applies here. The romance that emerges between two people operating under completely different rule systems has the friction and attraction of something that shouldn't work and yet does. Available on Star TV. Can someone who learned the laws of nature survive when the laws of people decide to contradict them? Number 3. Mother. A little girl abandoned in the cold. A woman who finds her, and the decision no social conduct manual would approve of, but that no person with a heart could fail to make in that exact moment. Anne is the Turkish drama that takes maternal love in its most desperate and most honest form. The heroine isn't the biological mother. She's the only person who made the decision to protect that girl when no one else would. With everything that decision implies, legally and socially, inside a system with its own version of who's allowed to be a mother and under what conditions. Her starting situation is that of someone who never planned this role, who took it on because the alternative was exactly what she couldn't allow herself to accept. The conflict arrives when the world around them starts questioning a decision that was never questionable to her. The twist that complicates everything is the girl's past. And the people who are part of that past, which the series reveals with the precision of a show that planned every reveal from the very beginning. The romance is secondary in this story. The central love here is maternal, an adaptation of the Japanese series Mother, available on digital platforms. Can someone be fully a mother without being one biologically, when the decision to protect was more real than any blood tie? Number 2. Lady Dila. A woman. Her own business. Her own determination to be exactly who she wants to be in a world with very clear opinions about what a woman in her position should want. Dila Hanım picks up its heroine at the exact point where most Turkish series end a woman's story, and turns it into the beginning. Dila has the business. She has her independence. And she has the certainty of someone who learned that depending on others comes with specific costs she's no longer willing to pay. Her starting situation is that of someone who seems to have everything under control, until something or someone enters her life with the ability to complicate exactly that control. The conflict arrives when the independence she built with so much effort meets someone who challenges it, not aggressively, but simply by existing in ways Dila never accounted for in her plans. The twist that complicates everything is the attraction, which never consulted her independence before showing up. The romance that emerges has the specific dynamic of two people, one completely clear about what she doesn't want, and the other complicating that in ways neither anticipated. Available on Turkish digital platforms with a wide audience. Can someone who learned not to need anyone learn to love someone without that love turning into the dependence she always feared? Number 1. The Crown Prince. The heaviest title there is, not the one inherited by choice, the one that arrives before you ever get a say in whether you want it. Veliaht is the Turkish drama that takes the crown prince and builds him with the honesty of a show that knows the greatest privilege can also be the most sophisticated prison. The protagonist has held the title since birth, with everything that title demands of him before he ever got the chance to discover who he is without it. His starting situation is that of someone whose entire life was designed by others before he ever had a say in that design, with the expectations of a kingdom, with the protocols of a family that has more at stake than the well-being of one of its members. The conflict arrives when someone completely outside that world shows up. Someone who doesn't know and doesn't care about protocol, who sees him without the filter of the title, and who produces in him exactly what the title always kept from happening. The twist that complicates everything is exactly that visibility, being seen as a person before being seen as an heir, and discovering that what he feels when that happens is something no protocol lesson ever prepared him to handle. The romance that emerges has the intensity of something the system around him has every reason to prevent. The number 1 on this list because it does the hardest thing in Turkish power drama, building the humanity behind the title before building the conflict around it. Available on Turkish streaming platforms. Can someone raised to be an heir learn to simply be a person, when the only person who sees him that way is exactly the one protocol says shouldn't be there? And we've reached the end of today's list. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 15 series would you want to start first? And is there one you've already seen that you'd recommend to everyone else? Leave your thoughts in the comments, because we can always discover new gems thanks to the community's recommendations.
The pains in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas. No, never stop competing, yeah. I've been doing this, I'm on it. I just wanna be iconic. Sipping on a gin and tonic, got me going off when I'm on this topic.